Hi everyone, my name is Annie Reiser. I am a certified Zentangle teacher and also a certified botanical illustrator. I'm also the owner and artist for my little company called Botangle.net. And I would like to welcome you today to my very first YouTube Tangle demonstration. I decided, if you're watching this, you might have been taking part in the Denver Botanic Gardens free sponsored lunchtime Tangle sessions with me that I've been doing throughout COVID. And I'm taking a break from that. Next week is our last one on Wednesday. So I wanted to have a place to send you to go tangle with me regularly anyway for free. So I've decided to start these little YouTube tutorials, and hopefully you'll stay on and have the same amount of enjoyment and exploration with your Zentangles as we've been having through the gardens. So first of all, let me get my glasses on and share my screen, and then I'll tell you about the tangle we're going to be doing today. During the gardens sessions, we always started with this piece of paper that I like to show you because I always want to give a shout out to the Zentangle company, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas, who gave us this gift of creating beautiful art one step at a time, but also relaxing and enjoying and meditating while we do it. I like to show tanglepatterns.com because that is where you can go find the step outs for most of the patterns that we're using, meaning that you can find out how to recreate what we do, deconstruct it one stroke at a time. Botangle.net is my little business, and I hope if you enjoy these little lunchtime tangles, let's call them that for lack of a better word, that you will check out some of the classes that I am teaching throughout the year. That's on my website at botangle.net. Also, I just want to make sure that we show this and get my materials ready, which include a tile, a Zentangle tile from the Zentangle.com website. I am using a soft graphite pencil, 3B, a 01 black micron pen, and then also a blending stump, which is called a tortillon. And you could, in a pinch, use your finger or a Q-tip, but this will give you the most satisfying and precise blending. So we're going to start our tile today. First of all, I need to give you the name, and I'm going to put it right here on the back. It's called Droop. It's one of the original Zentangle patterns, and it is by them. I love it because it's not only very beautiful, but it's one of those patterns that has such an interesting texture and that can give you so many different options. You can put it in any shape, in any string. If you've taken my introductory classes, you know what a string is. That's just the sectioning off of your tile. And it doesn't matter what shape it is, this goes in it. So today we're going to start with a kind of a Zentangle tradition, which is using the corner dots on our tiles and connecting them with a border. You can use a straight line border, or you can do a wiggly border. That's fine too. So we're going to go right to our tangle. We're not going to do a string. We're going to actually go right for it. However, we are going to make one little dot, maybe about here, off center. I'm going to go down a little bit, off center, because this will make our tile, our tangle, a bit more dimensional and interesting. So no mistakes in Zentangle, but I just wanted to make sure, we're going to try to cross over this midsection. So watch first. So what I'm doing is just arcing these divisions so that we get something like this. A little bit more, but hey, this is a demo, right? I'll show you some good samples when we're finished. The next step is to just aura all of these sections that we've just made. Let me show you. An aura line is basically nothing more than recreating a line next to the one that's already there, like that. And we're going to do that in each of these sections. So draw your line, keep a light touch so that you don't smash down your pen. And try to be mindful about your stroke. And don't forget to breathe, especially when you're doing these long strokes. I always seem to hold my breath when I'm doing something very tedious or long like this. So this is a great exercise in trying to teach yourself to breathe and just relax into your drawing. So this is about what it's going to look like. And in a sense, we've sort of made a string here, right? Because we have sectioned this off and we're going to be doing some more patterning underneath that. And it's going to start like this with just like a little arc. And what I want you to note is I've seen people do this in which their arc is rather flat, more like this. And that does not make for a really pretty droop because it looks like we're going to have just circles under there. So I would suggest that you actually make a nice bowed arc that's pretty steep. And what it does look like is a flower, really, right? You want it to kind of look floral underneath this. And if you notice, I am trying to be a little bit mindful about matching up where these go. So I am being a little bit thoughtful about it. I'm going to go ahead and aura those lines. Nice. I'm going to correct this one here. Since this one's a little low, I'm going to go ahead and put a band up there to keep them sort of on the same plane. They don't have to be perfect. It'll still look really cool no matter what you do. And then we're going to just keep on doing that until we fill up this space. But we want to leave some space in between. So here's my next one. I'm going to go and keep that nice arc so that it's rather steep, not flat. So it becomes petal-like, right? And then, of course, in the Zentangle fashion, we will just stop where we can't go anymore. See how pretty this is already becoming? And we're just going to continue on doing that. What you can play around with when you're doing this on your own is you can play around with the spacing that we're doing here. in terms of distance between here and here. You can still play around with this arc and the steepness of it. You might like that more flat look. There are a couple other tangles that are very similar to this one that Zentangle does. One is called Fracas, and it's very similar. And the other one is called, I think, let me look, it's called Dyon, D-Y-O-N. And they're all the same concept, but with some variation. And here's another one. As you get out here, of course, the space grows in size, so you're going to adjust your arc and you're going to adjust your spacing accordingly. So this would just go off the page and probably come back around here. This is pretty much completed down here, and I would like to add a couple more, maybe right here. So you always just imagine where, where that would go if there were paper enough for it. Okay, so there is almost the completed tangle. And now what Maria does is she does like an eyelash stroke from the center of, starting here, a little bit like self-shading. Hatch marks, I guess. And then she continues to do that at the bottom of each set of paralleled arcs, like this. Now remember, don't press too hard. I know this is an eyelash stroke where you press a little harder at the start and then you lift your pen tip to get that kind of thin, going from thick to thin. But please remember not to press so hard that you ruin the tip of your pen. This is a very meditative, repetitious stroke that makes this a fun tangle to do. So here we go on our next level. There's our band, and we're just going to pull those eyelash strokes out. It really does look like a closed eye with some eyelashes, doesn't it? If you have the PN pen, that works really well for this too, because you can press harder on that PN, which means plastic nib, without ruining the tip. And each of these little eyelash strokes, they can just be as long as you make them. They will be varied, and that's great. I think that looks really even more fun than if they're lined up exactly as long hatches. So have a lot more character. Okay, let's go down here. So just enjoy this. One more row. But I think you can see, even just with this little bit of eyelash stroke, you can already see how our flower underneath this, almost like a little cage on top, is starting to take on some dimension. And when we get to shading this, it's really going to be spectacular. So that already is very pretty in itself, right? But we're still going to add some more polishing to it. I am going to get my PN pen out. This is that plastic nib pen, because what we're going to do now is we're going to weight some of the lines. And this is what Maria does. She takes the top one and just kind of weights it almost in a crescent way. So it's a little thinner at the sides and a little bit thicker here in the middle. See how I'm making sort of a little crescent here, and then just getting thinner at the sides. That makes it, give it that lively line look. Real easy to do if you're using a real quill, right? So I'm making that crescent. It's easier to fill in with this bigger pen tip. And so the fun thing about this pattern is, I'm sure you can see as you're working through this, all the possibilities that you would have. You can stripe these, you can color each of the bands in a different color. You can add different tangles in there. This is just the basic droop, and is very beautiful in and of itself, obviously. And when we get to shading this, it just will pop off the page. Crescent. Need to stay on camera. Okay, so now we are ready to shade. Let me get my 3B pencil out, and I'm going to start by shading either side of these straps or ribbons, if you will, because what that's going to do, just like when we do our Tangle Halaba, it's going to really lift this up and push the pattern back. If you get a little bit too much graphite anywhere, you can always take your pencil or your kneaded eraser and lift. I'm just going to lay down the graphite first and then show you how I would blend it. So for me, shading is like everything. Of course, the line work is beautiful and it's important, but this becomes a little art piece because of the shading, right? It's kind of what is one of the things that distinguishes it from just doodling. You're actually very mindfully finishing it off as a little work of art. And you see already how much better this is looking than just the flat black lines that we just did. And I haven't even blended yet. So I'm going to go from the center and always blend towards away from where I laid my graphite. So in this case, watch, I'm going to blend this way. I like to use a little bit of a circular motion sometimes when I'm blending because it gets that graphite really pulled up and loosened up so that you can blend it out. I am not pushing hard, not at all. I am pushing vigorously, but not hard. You always want to save out a very nice bright highlight in the middle. Now in botanical illustration, we're always going for a lot of value change from really, really dark darks to really light lights. And you don't want to, you just don't want everything to be gray because it becomes boring again. It's homogeneous, right? You want it to have a lot of change in the value. So we can even go back in with an Annie Reiser to enhance that if you think you get it a little bit too dark in spots. I'll show you what I mean. So the Zentangle method is one in which we say we don't need erasers, and that like in life, there are no erasers. But this is an example where we're not really erasing the lines that we draw. We're just enhancing our shading. So for example, like this, I'm going to show you. This is not good, but I'll show you what we'll do to make it better. Somebody just took a class from me, a beginning class, and their question was, how do you learn to shade? And I just had to chuckle because shading is one of those things you need to, basically take a whole art class called Light on Form to understand the principles of shading, which some of you from the gardens may know about and have taken. And so this part might be easy for you, but for non-artisans, the shading is a very intimidating thing. So at least in the Zentangle method, we always show you where and how to shade. So I told you this was not good. So for example, I would take my kneaded or my eraser here, and I'm just going to lift out a center. Do you see how that highlight now comes to fore? And you definitely want to save those highlights. And you could even, really polish this up and get really, really dark darks under here and go back and do that. But this is a demo, and I don't want to take the time to do that. But we're not done. Because what we're also going to do, where we did those eyelash strokes that look like a bit of self-shading, we're going to add some graphite there as well. Because what that's going to do is make these petals look like they're in layers. I'm going to go ahead and just enjoy laying down my graphite first and then going back and blending. It's always to get the most relaxation and stress release from doing this, it's really important that you find your own rhythm and do things the way you want to do it. Maybe you don't want to do it this way. Maybe you'd rather start and then blend and then stop and then enjoy what you've just done. You got to find what works best for you. But I always feel like I need a bit of more focus in my life, so I'm trying to stay focused on like one thing at a time. That helps me. Okay, so I've got pretty much every one of my lines ready to blend. So once again, you're blending away from that graphite into the light area. Just a little bit. So those very, very bright highlights, they're almost shimmering. You don't want to muddy them up with the graphite. In fact, I might even go back and pull a little bit more light back up. So I need to do this a long time ago. So you don't ever want this really stark line, right? You always want to blend that out so that you get a transition from the dark into the light gradient, right? Just like when we're shading in botanical illustration. Of course, we're not allowed to use this blending stump. I never even owned one until I started doing Zentangle, because we have to control everything with our stroke and the lightness of that pressure, the stroke pressure. But now I'm going to go and fix some of these in terms. You can also use a kneaded eraser to just lightly blend and dab up some of the graphite that you want. And I'm going to clean up this area here and blend where we need to go. You can darken in some of your shadows to get that really, really dark and really light. So there we have Droop. Isn't that pretty? Looks like a flower. I am going to also not forget today, as I usually do, to sign and put my chop on here as well as date. But before I do that, I just noticed that I am going to go ahead and draw my border here, just to make it look a little bit like a frame. This is actually kind of lovely on its own. I just want to finish it off and polish it up. So take your tile and hold it at arm's length and turn it this way and that, and decide how you want your audience, your viewer, to look at this. I like this orientation. Oh, one more place you could shade, which is kind of cool, is like right here in the middle, to make that ribbon look like it's dipping down in the center. Gives it a little bit of movement, right? So that's kind of pretty too. I'm going to go ahead and put my chop right here at the bottom. Chop is nothing more than your initials. And then I'm going to turn it around and sign it and date it. Today is the 21st. And I'm going to just appreciate my beautiful work. Let me show you a few of the samples that I was telling you about. So I love Droop because you can put it in any string. So here's a real Zentangle traditional ritual tile, right? Where you start the steps with the corner dots and you make a string and then you put the different tangles within the string. And this is a very old one. As you can see, it's from 20, or 9, yeah, 712, which is pretty old. You can see I've been doing this a long time and I really still love Droop. Here's another one. Give you some examples of putting them in a string. Here's another fun one. This is from a book that I'm sure if I had a chat right now, you would all go, where'd you get that book? What is that book? So this is from 2015. And what it is called Zentangle a Day by Carol O, who is a CZT. And it's a great way to just really push yourself to tangle every single day. Of course, I did not fill the whole book, but I started out with great intentions. And anyway, there's Droop again with a kind of a fun twist. And then I just made this because I just was having so much fun and I thought, hey, it'd be fun to put some different tangle patterns in here. So I did a henna drum, which I know those of you who have been following me know henna drum quite well. I used some colors. This is a gray Zendala from Zentangle. And I love this paper. It's like one of my favorite papers of theirs. It just shades up so beautifully. So there are some examples for you, and I'd love to see some of your work again, as we have a tradition of. I have a website, not a website, a Facebook channel called Annie's Tangle Alumni, and it is a private Facebook page. And if you go there, you can share your sessions, today's results from today's session on there. It's really fun and inspiring to see what your colleagues are doing. There are so many incredible artists out there, and I would love for you to share what we've been learning. So, see you maybe in a week. I'm going to try to do these once a week, or film a few of them at once and then post them once a week so that you still get your tangle fix. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.